direct. I am so excited. Like, this is a shocker, right? I am always excited, but today I'm even more excited because we're launching something new. It's something old, but something new and something comfortable, and it just feels so, so good. I am Michelle Talbert, and I just realized my light is not on. It was, and then it went bye-bye. Gotta find my light. I am Michelle Talbert. I'm the founder of the UnChamber. Got this silk press swoop bang doing like junior high style back in the day with Farrah Fawcett or whoever, right? And I am just so excited to be introducing the lady to my right, left, whichever way you're watching, and I will be introducing her shortly. But I want to welcome you. This is the UnChamber. This is the first meeting, officially inaugural meeting of the UnChamber community. Yay! Yes, depending on how long you have been following me, what you know is that last year especially, I started a hashtag that had an asterisk in it and read Zuck, right? So the bottom line was that we knew that Facebook and other platforms were really sort of quelling our voices and not enabling us to get our messages out, whether that was for business reach or for social unrest, or to just connect with the communities that we've worked so hard to create on their free platforms, right? So how much can you really complain? One of the biggest problems was that I wasn't able to tell folks about the financial opportunities that were coming our way as Black-owned businesses and as women-owned businesses, especially in the summer of 2020. So I launched a free online community to compete with Facebook, but let's be real, right? And we had over 100 people sign up, and it was awesome, and I was able to share that information. But I'm also a small business owner, and trying to compete with Mark Zuckerberg in the middle of a pandemic where your own business is having struggles is probably not the best idea. So with all my well intentions, I had to put that on pause. So we are so excited to have relaunched the UnChamber as a monthly membership community where we can still continue to provide those online resources, but we also now have added the component where every second Wednesday, beginning today, we have a 1 p.m. Eastern online virtual experience with an amazing presenter, and I'm so excited. We are like booked out through October with amazing speakers. And then in the evening, if you are local or within any kind of radius to her power space located here in Broward County, then you can come on in tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Yay, Carl is coming, and Carl's gonna come on the screen in a minute. And join us in the space where we will have more amazing speakers. So believe me, the 1 p.m. experience and the 6 p.m. experience are going to be totally different. And what we will do is create this library of these workshops for you to access as you move forward. Because the folks who come in to speak to you, to pour into you, they are not just here to sell. If you know me at all, I do not play that. You will not hit my stage if you come on my platform just to sell your wares. Done, right? They are here to pour into you. They are here to give you the resources you need to get the success that you want in your business. So part of our meeting is going to be about the training, the workshops, and the other part, the unnetworking, is the part where you tell us about your business. And so if you have already joined as a member, you now have access, as Carl Cyrus, who I'm getting ready to bring on the screen, you have access to join us here behind the scenes and share about your business, right? So we're going to bring Carl on the screen. I'm going to take Rhonda down, bring Carl up, so Carl can just answer 2 very specific questions for us and tell us about his business. And then I'm bringing back Rhonda Gipson Willis to talk about cultivating your Team U, cultivating community to support the dream, okay? I can't wait for this conversation. All right, Carl, you ready? Hey, Carl, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I definitely wasn't ready for this, but I'm glad. Let's wing it.
That's what we're here for. This is why you joined, right? The goal is for you to be able to share about your business so that other folks can learn about what you do. And as we continue to grow, you'll get to learn about other business owners locally. And one of the great things is you're actually here. You're a member of her power space, and you are actually here locally in South Florida. So Carl, just tell us a little bit about the firm, and then I want you to share with us one thing you need and one thing you have.
Wow. Okay. So much for putting me on a spot.
I know, right?
Yeah, but I like it, living in the moment. So about my firm, we are a financial service firm. And really, our goal is to improve our people quality of life through financial literacy in our services. And our main services are credit repair and taxes. And you can find us online. I was probably typing so fast I didn't get to put the Oasis firm, but it's the Oasis firm. Like Michelle said, if you look us up, you're gonna see that we're a member of the UnChamber. Well, not the UnChamber, member of her power space, because we are using the same address. But one very interesting thing you will find on Google is that we are 5-star rated with over 100 reviews.
That's amazing.
Yes, definitely amazing. And now about one thing that I have and one thing that I want. Is that what it is?
Yeah, one thing you need and one thing you have. What's one thing you need right now in your business that will take you one step closer or even a quantum leap closer to where you want to be?
I will have to narrow it down to strategic alliance.
Okay.
Okay. And what I mean by that is because what I do, I had the foresight when I started, instead of, talking to people about their bad credit, it might be a touchy conversation, but
Sure.
usually those are things they're finding out about because they don't even know they have bad credit when they try to buy a house.
Sure.
So what I do, I align myself with realtors and mortgage brokers. And what I propose to them is when you have the leads that come to you, maybe running ads on Facebook, and it's basically a waste because now you cannot turn that lead into a deal because their credit is shot. So it's almost like, something you just throw in your trash can on your computer, the contact file. What I propose to them, instead of doing that, is to turn them over to us, and we'll get them ready and introduce those people to you. And our slogan is, I'll turn your trash can into a cash can.
Trash cans to cash cans. I'll take that. What?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys heard, for any of you who are listening, who are watching this, whether you're listening, watching in the replay or in the library of the UnChamber, you understand that Carl Sirius of the Oasis firm is looking for strategic partners, specifically with mortgage brokers, lenders, and realtors. And he is located here in South Florida. And so what's one thing that you have, Carl? And then you get off the hot seat.
I have my hair, a beautiful smile. I have melanin. I mean, so much to be grateful for.
Nothing more. Once we are melanated, we are good to go. All right, Carl, thank you for being here. I'm going to drop you back down. You'll be able to watch the rest of the programming from down below. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And if you need me, just message me.
Will do.
Thanks, Carl. Okay. So I want to tell y'all right now, I am wearing my Unapologetically Multi-Passionate t-shirt because so many of us are unapologetically, and sometimes apologetically, and we got to shift that, multi-passionate. And the woman who I am about to bring to the stage right now definitely falls in the unapologetically multi-passionate category. I have had the pleasure of knowing Rhonda, Gipson, Willis, MSW, LCSW, and lots of other letters. But the bottom line is, number one, she's my ace. She's my homegirl. She's a biz bestie. We've known each other a really long time. We met online, got to really connect in person a couple of times. And she has just been a constant force for good in both my business and within our community and the greater world. And I am so excited that she's kicking us off. So I want to read a little bit of her bio because I think it's important that you know who's coming to the stage and the weight that they have and the value that you're getting right here. Rhonda is the founder and CEO of RGW Ventures. She is a licensed mental health therapist, certified speaker, corporate trainer, and coach who's been fueled by 20 plus years in the mental health field, as she unhinges reticent potential and makes the enigmatic recognizable. All right, if you can't see it, she's gonna make sure you see it. All right, that's what that means. All right, she like big words. I love Rhonda. She has provided leadership development solutions ranging from executive coaching, group coaching, and training to diverse populations in diverse fields. Prior clients include Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, that's right, Beacon Health Systems, Bethel University. She has been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS. I seen it with my own eyes, all right? She has a Bachelor's of Science degree in psychology from Jackson State University, go HBCUs, Master's in social work from Indiana University, and her Minute with Rhonda motivational segments can be heard on WMSK Radio. I love it. And she is the proud mommy of 4 amazing, beautiful daughters. Rhonda Gipson Willis, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's amazing when you hear yourself, when somebody else hears yourself in your words, and then you like, oh, she sounds like a big deal, and then you be like, she is a big deal.
And she is me. Yes.
Come on. Because we're being unapologetic, right?
Yes.
And in being authentically, unapologetically, that's how we draw out the best in ourselves and others, and then we get that team that we need. So I'm gonna get the thing started. You know how the thing gets started.
That's how it gets started.
And then we can share the screen how we need to share the screen, ma'am.
Exactly.
I'm excited. So,
what I'm gonna do is take my Edifying You by Udaline shirt, and I'm gonna leave and let Rhonda take you guys where you need to be. Ask questions. I will be moderating questions. And if you are not already a member, Rhonda's conversation is actually not going to continue unless you're a member of the community. So if you're watching from either her power space or Michelle Y. Talbert, you're really going to want to head over to the UnChamberCommunity.com. I will let you in immediately so you can finish watching. My phone is blowing up right now, Rhonda. They want to hear what you got to say. So let me let these people in, and I will see you guys on the other side of Rhonda's talk. Yes, girl. I'm so excited about this.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. So I'm guessing that you can see my screen now. I can see my screen. So we're going to go on. If my screen decides it wants to do what it needs to do. Isn't that what happens? You get started with something and then it does what it wants to do. But that's all right. We're going to make it work. So here's the thing I want to talk about today. Today, we're talking about Team You. How do you cultivate the team that it is that you need, that's required to do the work that it is that you do, so that you can support the dream, right? So with that, it's not moving. I'm going to move past introducing myself because you all know me by now. We got a wonderful introduction of myself by Michelle. I want to make sure you can see. All right, so you can see. So we're all good. All right, so I'm a motivational speaker, Amazon bestselling author. So the first thing I like to start off with anytime I'm doing a training is, why does it even matter, right? Why does it even matter? The reason that it matters is because in this space of entrepreneurship, in this space of building a dream, in this space of daring to push into the places where we are walking into our higher selves, we have to be making sure that we are supporting the dream, that we are supporting what it is that we need to do so that we can get what it is that we need to have, so that we can be all that it is that we can be. And the reality is that isolation kills. Isolation kills. Now, this is going to require that I put my mental health hat on for a minute. I try not to do too much of that, but the reality is that they've been looking at the effects of isolation as we've encountered this global pandemic, right? During the course of this global pandemic, we had social distancing. We had a lot of people working from home. We had a lot of folks who used to interact with other people, no longer interacting with other people face to face. We had Zoom fatigue. And what they found was that a lot of people were drawing closer or farther away from other people and getting in a spot of isolation. And what they found with that was that isolation or loneliness contributes to some very real emotional, physical, and mental health challenges. Physically, they were finding that increases your blood pressure. There are mental health needs that will not be met because you are in this space. There are deterrences, and you can look it up. Google loneliness. I only have a certain amount of time, so I can't go into everything, but I want to be very intentional about letting you know why we cannot function in these areas of isolation. In these areas of isolation, we have to lean into building a team. But what tends to happen is, for the most part, there are some things that we have to do within ourselves to make sure that we are teamable. We have to make sure that we are teamable. The first thing you have to do is you have to be a leader. You have to be a leader of your own self. That means being intentional about your personal development, being intentional about your self-awareness, being intentional about your emotional intelligence, building into yourself as much as you build into your business. I know the business is that thing that's external. It's the thing that everybody sees. It's that thing that sometimes we use, we give too much weight to validate what it is that we're doing, when the reality is that our businesses would never progress further than we are. So we have to be just as intentional about our own personal development. We have to become a leader of ourselves. And I want you to ask yourself this question as it relates to how you interact with other people and when you shift into a room. Are you a thermostat or are you a thermometer? If you are a thermostat, you set the temperature. You can only set the temperature if you are a leader. And for the purposes of this, I want you to understand that leadership is nothing more or less than influence. If you have influence, right? If you can have influence, then you can help set the tone. Thermometer means you basically take the temperature of the room and you adjust. You take the temperature and you adjust. Are you a leader who is a thermostat, or are you a thermometer? And how you move in those spaces that you get into will determine that. As it relates to leadership and teaming and connecting with other people, there's a saying that, either be a faucet, you're either a faucet or you're a drain. If you are a faucet, you are bringing something to the table. If you are a drain, you are taking. Determine for yourself in these relationships that you're looking to cultivate. Am I a faucet or am I a drain? And now you have to be intentional about leading the vision, leading your vision. Now, I believe that the vision that I have for my life did not come from me. I get to possess it. I get to own it. I get to steward it. But I believe that the vision of my life came from God. It's the dream. It's the dream that's bigger than me. It's the thing that feels impossible to do. It's the thing that I'm unsure of. And the only reason that I know that it didn't come from me is because I, left to my own devices, I would not dream as big as I dream. But with that, we all have responsibilities, right? We have responsibilities to lead our vision. And we can only do that if we're setting up the right parameters. But here's the thing I want you all to admit. Here's what I want you to admit. I hear people talk about entrepreneurship being lonely. And the reason entrepreneurship is lonely is because a lot of us have one-man banditis. Am I right? We're the one-man band. You're doing everything. You're making every sound, you're playing every instrument, you're bringing the instruments to the stage, you're tearing down. We do so much in isolation because that's what we believe that we have to do. Or maybe you've been scarred in other relationships and you're afraid. So we're going to talk today about what it is that you need in order to support the dream. Who is it that you need to have alongside you to help support it in the way that you don't fall back to the one-man banditis? And yes, I did make that up. So I saw this meme on Twitter, and it really resonated. And this young lady said, "I don't lack discipline. I lack community. I've spent so much time criticizing myself for getting XYZ done, for lacking consistency, all while ignoring the fact that so many of the things I do alone are supposed to be done in community. So many things I do alone are supposed to be done in community." With that, I want you to think about what is it that you're doing or you're attempting to do alone that you know you need community, that you know you need an environment where we all win is the motto, where you know you need consistency of community, where you need what I like to refer to as the synergy of genius. So how do we go about cultivating that community? Well, one is simply you join a community like this one. As long as I've known Michelle, I've known her to be very intentional about community. I remember saying to her, like, you're like the Black Women's Chamber, International Chamber of Commerce. She's a connector. She knows someone who has the solution to all of your issues, all of your concerns, all of your, anything that you can think of needing. Michelle has a plug. How do you cultivate community? She's intentional about that. You can only do it if you are intentional. Again, it speaks to the synergy of genius. Now, I would like to say that that's a phrase that I coined. I believe that it is because I didn't hear anybody else speaking of it before I did. But this thing I refer to as a synergy of genius happens when you're in alignment with people who are like-minded. And when you're in alignment with people who are like-minded, it gives you the opportunity to engage in this synergistic energy where you can have an idea or a thought that seems like nothing, that sounds like nothing, that is just a fragment of a concept that when it goes out into the atmosphere and it lands on another person, and they add a little bit of sauce to it, to the thought, or they ask the right question, and it comes back to you in a synergistic way that creates this ball of synergistic genius energy. That's something you can't get alone. That's something you absolutely cannot get alone. The synergy of genius is absolutely necessary to grow. And I wish that I was close enough where I can go and be in the space of the 6 p.m. meeting, to be in the synergy of genius, to be in the room, to be in the atmosphere. We were not created to be in isolation. We are not created to be alone. We are not created to do any of this alone. And what happens is we have touted this message of independent woman. I will speak for myself as a woman, where we tout independence without understanding that the real goal is interdependence. Independence means I count on me. Dependence means I count on you. Interdependence means we count on each other. We have to allow ourselves to shift from this space of I can do it on my own to recognizing that we were never built or designed for that. So, how do you go about finding your people? Finding your people. Now, there's a saying, right? And I've gone a little back and forth with it over the last couple of years. Your vibe attracts your tribe. The saying is your vibe attracts your tribe. I believe that to a certain extent, but I also believe that we see what we look for. We see what we look for. So what I want you to do as we delve into the concept of how our brains work to help us in that way, I want you to write a piece of paper, take out a piece of paper and write on it, what am I looking at? So for some of you, I'm going to introduce you to a concept. To others, you may be familiar with this. And I will start with something that we tend to have heard about a lot. We hear a lot about the law of attraction, right? We hear a lot about speak it and manifest it and how all of those things work. But what I want to speak about is the fact that while that is on more of a spiritual, more of a let's understand how we can speak life into things, and certainly that's valid, right? I also want to speak to the fact that our brains are designed to show us what we expect to see. There's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system, and its only job is to bring to you what you focus on. Because here's the truth. We have access to a lot of information. There's a lot of information floating around us at any given time. The number is astronomical. It's somewhere in the millions. Bits of information. Our brains are only capable of processing so much information. We can only process so much. And here's the thing that'll probably surprise you. You're probably thinking, oh, I can only process, 2 or 3 bits of information at a time, but we can really process something ridiculous like 400,000 bits of information. Now, I might be making that up. I'll have to check. But it's a lot of information on the exact number. It's a lot of bits of information that we're processing at any one given time. And the purpose of the reticular activating system is that it takes the bits of information that's important to us and brings it to us. So I'd like to use the analogy. Imagine that your brain is this happening club. Your brain is this happening club. And you have a bouncer at the spot of your VIP section. Your bouncer's name is Raz. Get it? Reticular activating system. Raz is your bouncer. And Raz's job is to bring in the VIPs, the very important thoughts. We call it the VITs, very important thoughts. And the only way that Raz knows what thoughts are important to you is based on what you're focused on and what you're thinking. So as it relates to opportunities, as it relates to people, as it relates to things, as it relates to X, Y, and Z, the reality is that our brain is set up to prove us right. So if I focus on there being good in the world, I will see good. If I focus on there being bad, I will see bad. If I focus on opportunities, I will see opportunities. If I focus on lack, I will see lack, because Raz's only job is not to judge whether or not you are right or wrong in your thinking. His only job is to prove you right. So he will bring in the information that validates that thought to you. If you're thinking, I can't find quality people because everybody that I know is selfish, everybody that I know, or all the people that I meet only want something from me, they don't want to give. If you think that I will only be used, Raz goes, oh, that's what you want to see? I got plenty of that for you. On the flip side, if you think different thoughts, if you focus on different things, you will see those things. So for the purposes of that, I want you to get out a piece of paper if you don't have one right now. And we're going to talk about the types of people that you should focus on to bring it to you. And if you have any qualms about whether or not the Raz works, I want you to ask yourself, what happened the last time you bought a new car? As for me, I remember buying a vehicle that I had never seen in my hometown until I purchased it. Drove it off the lot, and everywhere I went, I saw that car. That wasn't a coincidence. That was my Raz. That was because my focus changed. Does that make sense? So let's talk about who are your people and how do you navigate that. And I want to talk about effective networking. Here's the thing I know about networking. I've been to a lot of networking events. And that's what I love about the unnetworking. I've gone to networking events where it's obvious that people are just there to shove their wares in your face and not speak to connecting and learning what it is that your needs are. You ever been to that networking event where somebody just walks up to you and is shoving their card in your face? And you're like, how do you even know that this is something that I need, want, or desire? They don't. It's a very one-sided situation. I've been to events like that. And when I've gotten those cards, I throw them away. But I want to talk about true networking of understanding who you are and how you are. Now, I just put this beautiful sister up on a screen, and I would hope that most of you know her. Issa Rae. Here's the thing I know about Issa Rae. Issa Rae really understood the power and understands the power of networking. Now, we were first introduced to Issa Rae many years ago when she did a YouTube web service or web series called Awkward Black Girl. How many of you remember that? Before she did Insecure, before she did Lovebirds, before she was Catwoman or Spider Girl, she's doing something over there. Before she was a well-known name, she had Awkward Black Girl. And here's what Issa Rae had to say about her network at the time. What she understood was that most of us, we aspire to network up, go to people who have done the things that we're looking to do, and we want to network there. She decided to network across. So when it came time for her to do her series, she had a friend who was a videographer. She had another friend who was a photographer. She had other friends who could write. And she brought them into the network. And what happened was, in giving and serving each other, they grew together. They grew together because a lot of us say that some of the things that I need in community, I cannot access it because we're looking far outside of our reach without understanding the network that we have around us. Now, I live in northern Indiana. And one of the perks of living in northern Indiana is that you have access to this culture of the Amish. 20 minutes up the road, I'm in Amish country. And if you're driving by, if you happen to catch it on a particular day, you might see the Amish building a barn. And what you'll find is you can drive by one day and there are supplies strewn about, and you come back the next day and a full barn is constructed. That's because the Amish believe in a concept referred to as barn raising. Barn raising. This is the power of community and how the Amish utilize that community. What they do is, when it's time to raise a barn, everyone from the community comes and contributes what they have. So if you have the people who are good at framing, they're the framers. You have the people who are good at roofing, they do the roofing. You have the people who are good at painting, they do the painting. And they come together in this process that would take one person or one family 3-4 months to do alone. They're able to accomplish in mere hours because the community comes together to raise the barn. Imagine what your process would look like if we were raising barns as opposed to being the one-man band and raising our barns on our own. We drive by and we watch and we look at each other's barns and we wave. Imagine if there's 10 of us, 10 families come together as a community to build this barn this one day. Build this barn this next day. Build this barn in a week and a half. Everyone can have their barns raised. So there's an African saying, proverb that goes, and I didn't plan on talking about this, so I hope I don't butcher it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. What if you want to go fast and further? What if you want to go fast and further? You need community to do that. But here's the thing that you're going to have to do at this stage of the game. You're going to have to reevaluate your current circle. Reevaluate your current circle, because see, what Issa Rae understood was not everybody was fit to come along, right? They all had their responsibilities, but not everybody was fit. As it relates to community, I'm not saying excommunicate people from your life. What I'm saying is, as it relates to community and what it is that you need to thrive and grow yourself in these entrepreneurial pursuits, grow yourself in your personal development, is that you have to sometimes reevaluate your circle. And in reevaluating your circle, you have to understand that not everybody is going to fit in the places that you are trying to fit them into. Not everybody's going to fit. So I saw this meme on Facebook literally just today. It said, just because they're in your circle doesn't mean they're in your corner. And I oop. Just because they're in your circle doesn't mean they're in your corner. Reevaluate your circle. So now I'm going to talk about who you need in your circle for community to thrive, for your community to be one of consistent elevation, where we're elevating each other, even if that means we're elevating each other one at a time, right? Because just like Issa Rae, she had her team when she was Awkward Black Girl. Guess who her people are right now, as she's doing the Netflix series and the HBO series and all of that. They contributed resources to grow her so that they can all grow. But who do you need on that team to be successful? You need at least one person who inspires you. So maybe that's somebody who's doing what it is that you want to do. Maybe that's what you look for in a mentor. And something I like to be really clear about as we speak about these people. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the concept of a personal board of directors. Are you familiar with that? A personal board of directors. And oftentimes we look at our areas of life, right? So we look at finances, health, mental health, emotional strategy, all those things that we need to kind of build the university of you, right? The incorporation of YOU. We basically need a board of directors. A lot of people seek out mentors. Mentors are really good because typically they've done what it is that you've done, and they can inspire you. You need a bigger vision of the fact that somebody was able to accomplish that thing that you're striving towards accomplishing. Who inspires you in your circle? Who inspires you outside of your circle? But who inspires you in your circle? Who gives you inspiration? Who shows you it can be done? I want you to take time and next to inspire, list those people who inspire you, both inside and outside of your circle. And if you don't have anyone currently inside of your circle who inspires you, I want you to leave that blank. I want you to leave that blank. And then allow your reticular activating system to do its job, to find that person who inspires you. And what is it that you're looking for? What do you want to be inspired to do? Next, you need someone who encourages you. Now, For the purposes of a lot of people, I tend to be that person, because before I was anything else, I was an encourager. I like to refer to myself, and actually other people have referred to me as a dream pusher, but I tend to be your favorite dream pusher's dream pusher. I'm typically that person who, if I see someone who needs a boost, a pat on the back of, or you can do it, I tend to be that person. That's just naturally who I am. I don't fake it. It's not insignificant. It's not insincere. I recognize the power in an encouraging word. Now, some of you are inspired by or encouraged by a word of tough loveness, a word of, come on, you can do this, a word of accountability, a word of, who in your circle encourages you, and what type of encouragement do you need? Who encourages you? Who helps to push you when you're ready to give up? Who is that person? Write that person down, your encouragers in your circle. Cultivate those relationships. Next, you need someone in your circle who compliments you. Now, I'm not talking about, oh, girl, you looking good today. That's not the compliment I'm talking about. I'm talking about complementary skill sets. Complementary skill sets. So I'll tell you, I'm a very right brain person. I need people in my circle who are left brain. Right brains, we tend to be visionaries. We tend to see the world in pictures, and everything's so pretty, and we can get unfocused on the details because of the big picture. In order for me to be successful, as much as I enjoy being in a company of other right brainers, right? Because we can talk all day about our big dreams. I know that I need a left brainer in my camp. Now, the left brainers, they can tend to be a bit of a killjoy, because they come to you and they want to know things like details. Like, how do you propose you are going to make this thing happen? But as we look to grow, I know that I cannot be completely 100% right brain, which nobody's completely 100% right brain or left brain. But I know that I need people in my circle who complement me. That's why we speak about diversity so much, diversity of thought. We go into these places where it's very homogeneous. And when you get there, you can't grow the way that you need to, because there's a lack of diversity of thought and vision and seeing. And again, the synergy of genius dictates that you have complementary styles. Who do you have in your circle? Who do you have as part of your community who is different than you? And how are you welcoming that difference? How are you understanding? How are you validating? How are you appreciating? One of the things that I do, I think Michelle mentioned that I'm a corporate trainer. I like to use the DISC assessment. If you are assembling a team, I highly recommend that you do some version of the DISC assessment. At this point, there are paid versions, there are free versions online. If you need a link to it, just hit me up and I can send it to you. But the thing about the DISC is that it shows us the 4 quadrants that we tend to fall into one of. And I'll give you a quick and dirty way to assess where you may fall. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. The first question is, would you consider yourself more outgoing or more reserved? Write it down. Which one you are, outgoing or reserved? My next question is, would you consider yourself more of a task-oriented person or a people-oriented person? So the difference is, people-oriented person, if given the opportunity, I'd rather be and do people things rather than as opposed to task-oriented. Your task-oriented people, you love your to-do list and leave me to my list, and then I'll mingle with the people. All right. So if you are an outgoing task-oriented person, you would be a D on the disc, which is dominant or driven. If you're an outgoing people person, you would be an I, which stands for influence. And that's a very gregarious, like big picture person. If you are a reserved people person, that will make you an S, which stands for steadiness on the disc. If you are a reserved task-oriented person, that will put you as a C, which is conscientiousness. What tends to happen is when we get all of these people together, if they don't understand that you need a driven person who is going to be an ideas person, make things happen, even if it looks like a bull in a china shop, they're going to get things done. And that you also need the visionary, the big picture person who is able to get people on the team to buy into the vision, who is gregarious, who is social. If you don't understand that you need the person who is still on the steadiness of making sure that, hey, we're not leaving anyone behind, and is attached a little bit to the status quo or willing to bend, but wants to make sure that we are doing what we need to do before we jump off into these big picture ideas that the D and the I's have. If you don't understand that you also need the conscientiousness, the person who is saying, yo, everybody slow your roll. Everybody slow your roll. Let's make sure we're doing this right. It's very easy for each of those styles to villainize each of those other styles. But if you are on a truly complementary team, you have a little bit of both or all four. You need it. But the tendency for most of us is to get stuck in the places where we get stuck in those places and go, I don't gel with them, so I don't need them on my team. But I'm here to tell you, you need them on your team. It's part of your dream team. You also need someone who challenges you, who refuses to allow you to settle, who sees in you things that maybe you don't see in yourself, who pushes you. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever attempted to lose weight. And I'll use that as my example because I know that when I work out by myself, I have these self-imposed limits, and my self-imposed limit usually starts at the place where it starts to hurt or get uncomfortable. That's where my limit goes. I'm done. You've done enough today, Rhonda, right? But when you have a trainer, when you have my last two trainers, I was pretty convinced were trying to kill me. I was pretty convinced they were trying to push me over a cliff that maybe they didn't see, but I saw the cliff. But what I knew from working with trainers before was, this is what I paid them for. I had to be challenged past my point of exhaustion, past my point of where I would tap out, past my point of discomfort. And what's happening is when we're in these silos, it's easy for us to say, I've had enough. This is too hard. This is trying to kill me. When you allow someone in to challenge you, it gives you the opportunity to be seen by someone else who can push you towards your greatness in ways you can't push yourself. Allow yourself to be challenged in that way. But you have to be intentional about allowing those people in, and you have to be intentional about receiving and rising to the challenge. For a lot of us, that happens with a coach. And I started to talk about this a little bit earlier, but I want to speak about the difference of a mentor, right? A mentor can inspire you A coach can push you. A therapist can help you dismantle the reasons why you're not doing what it is that you want to do, or the trauma triggers that are showing up in your life. But oftentimes people get those three mixed up. And I want to be very clear about the differences. A mentor is someone who's been there, done that. And when you connect with a mentor, typically a mentor would tell you how they achieved what it is that they achieved, right? So you can have a mentor who has a completely different life experience than you, but they can share with you, I did X, Y, and Z, and this is how I got to this place. This is the roadmap that worked for me. A coach is more individualized, and maybe not, they don't even have to be in a place that you've been in or that you're going to help you get there. So obviously on the screen, I have a football coach. It helps to have someone who knows the game. But as a football coach, I can coach you to the NFL without ever having gone to the NFL. Does that make sense? I remember when I went to training to become certified as a coach. And I was there with one of my friends, and they had us do this exercise to prove the power of coaching versus mentoring. So as a mentor, they gave us this exercise. The exercise was to teach the person how to juggle. Now, my friend who was there knows how to juggle. I don't know how to juggle. And so I'm thinking, how exactly does this work? If I were a mentor, my job would be to say, this is how I juggle. I do it this way. As a coach, because I had never been there, my job was to ask questions. A coach asks questions. So my friend who can juggle 3 was now pushed to juggle 4 balls at one time. She didn't believe that she can do it. I didn't believe that I can coach her to doing it because I didn't even understand how she can juggle 3. And so what happened was I started to ask curiosity-based questions. I asked questions like, so how did you start with the 3? What would happen if you threw one in right now? What would it look like? What would it feel like for you to juggle 4? And as we're having this conversation and she's juggling and she's answering these questions and she's inserting, right, physically inserting additional ball into this juggle that she's doing, she was able to elevate, not through mentoring, because I didn't even understand how to do it, but through coaching. Oftentimes with a coach, you're looking for someone to challenge you, and they don't even have to. I can have a coach in terms of fitness who is unfit. Now, I will look at them side eye, but you can have a coach who challenges you, who has not necessarily done what it is that you're looking to do. It's about the questions. So even with the challenge, you want to make sure you have someone who asks you great questions. Ask you great questions. You need to be challenged. If you're not ready to be challenged, you're not ready to grow as an entrepreneur. You absolutely won't grow as an entrepreneur. If you're not receptive to it, you won't. So with that being said, I think I'm ready for questions. I'm brain ambidextrous. Yes.
Exactly. So can I stop sharing your screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was so good. Thank you so much, Rhonda. I actually opened it back up to the other folks as you were talking through sort of who challenges you, and some of the differences between being a coach and a mentor are really poignant. As folks bring your questions, please. And again, I have put across the bottom that if you're watching this in a replay, you can still drop your questions because I'll definitely get them and I can get them over to Rhonda, and she is amazing and we'll actually answer them. I know this, even if you're not here live and you're watching the replay, definitely drop your questions. But for those of you who are here live, if you have questions, please put them in the chat so that we can make sure that they get answered. I really appreciated this talk because you not only gave us sort of the overview of why it's important to have team, but then you helped us identify who needs to be on the team, which, you know, you said you put up a football coach, and that makes absolute sense. Everybody doesn't play quarterback. Everybody can't play kicker. Everybody doesn't play one single role. You need people to fill out so that we can all get the ball down the field. So I really appreciate that. I also have to say that with the African proverb that you stated, that's actually something I work into all of my talks for the past few months, and something I've thought about for years, because when they say, you know, you can go far alone and you can go fast alone and you can go far with others, I say, no, you go farther, faster, and get smart cuts, shortcuts, right?
Yes.
Because you're with the right group. It's not just going with others that matters. It's going with the right group of others that really take time off of your journey and take frustration out of your journey. All right. Thank you for this presentation, Rhonda. I think I'm going to double check. I think that might be Derek Mobley.
Okay.
But you can see his comment there. You have to give permission for us to be able to see your name. So you can see that it says StreamYard asked for you to give permission so we can see your name when you're making comments. Otherwise, it shows up as Facebook user. Also, Carl, if you have questions, you can let us know in the chat as well if you want to come on screen and ask your question, or you can drop it in the private chat, either way. One of the questions that I had for you, Rhonda, is speaking a bit to the concept of that networking piece, right?
Yes.
And so if you can just kind of tease that out a little bit more in terms of when you are walking into a room when you don't know anybody else. It's kind of a lot easier, or it's a little easier for some of us. We'll talk about introverts another day. But when you walk into a room where you know everybody and you're like, okay, I know that's a great kicker. I know that's a great quarterback over there. I don't know why we're continuing with the football metaphor, but let's just run with it. No pun intended. Anyway, so talk to us about walking into a room where you really don't know who's who. How do you begin to identify those people who challenge us, inspire us, encourage us, who we haven't met yet? For those who, when they were going through the worksheet that you were just talking about, that they have so many blanks. Yeah. How do you begin to fill that in and tap Raz on the shoulder when you walk into that next UnChamber event or whatever in-person event you walk into?
So the importance, I'm going to tell you something I used to do. Well, I still do. I created this template. It was just an Excel sheet, and I called it my dream team, right? And I put the list of all the people that I needed, all the types of people that I needed. Thank you, Sandy. All the types of people that I needed, right? I know I need an accountant, I need an encourager, I need an inspirer, I need strategy, I need this, that, and the other. And then along the side of that, I put the type of person that I needed there, right? So maybe in my mind, I know a person that will fit that bill. I know the type of person. Maybe they're not within my group, but I know the type of person that I need, the type of energy, right? The type of heart set. Because we talk a lot about mindset, but let's talk about heart set and skill set. Like, yo, you need to be aligned like a mug, right? Yes. So if I have this list, again, that's activating the reticular activating system. When you go into these networking events, now your Raz is set up to find the people that you need. You don't have to look or work that hard, because when they come, you'll start going, that sounds like that accountant type person I need. That sounds like the encourager type person that I need. You'll start to see those people rise. And the people who are the folks that go to the networking event, if y'all are doing this, please stop, because it made me stop going to networking event where folks just coming up to you and just shuffling a bunch of business cards in your page. I'm like,
playing spades.
I throw those straight away, because you're not who I want. I want reciprocity. I want reciprocity in my relationships. And so I look for when you're doing your dream team, also look for the type of people that you want. And I'm going to tell you, your Raz and your spirit to be like, ding, 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 ding. That's the type of person that you need. Ding, ding, ding. That's not. They might fit the bill of the accountant, but that's not the one for you.
That makes absolute sense. And, in terms of thinking about sort of being at work, I just put up a comment. Someone's at work and their engagement is limited.
That's
and
cool.
So they might not be able to go to meetings and events during the day. How do we begin to cultivate those relationships online? How can we sort of begin to reach out and make some of these connections when we aren't face to face and they aren't shoving their business card in our face, but we want to connect with someone who we don't know? What are your thoughts on that?
So I know we didn't talk about this, but I'm gonna do a shameless plug for my girl, right? The UnChamber. I'm keeping it funky.
I was like, who's she about to talk about?
I'm not talking about me. But the UnChamber is a place to go to get that type of environment, because from the very beginning, you've been #we all win. You behind us, we all win. And those are the environments that we need to make sure that we're in. As melanated people, right? We bring so much to the table, and being in that space. Imagine as this community is cultivated, all the opportunities for barn raising, or all the opportunities for an Issa Rae come up that exist because you're in the space with people with the right mindset, heart set, and skill set.
I love that. Mindset, heart set, skill set.
Yes.
And one of the pieces for skill set, I want to be sure to point out, because we had some folks in the UnChamber who weren't on our live on this end, who are actually sort of in the real estate realm and things of that nature. I want to let you guys know, Carl Sirius gave a call to action to do different types of sort of affiliations so that you guys can work together. So I want to put that in here for prosperity, so that I can connect you guys later and make sure that folks are connected, because that is the purpose of the UnChamber, connecting mindset, heart set, skill set, which I'm not going to steal, but I'm going to just go ahead and borrow that for a little while over here, because I really like that. So Rhonda, talk a little bit with us as we begin to sort of wind down. Talk a little bit about us with your work, the work that you do. Where do you see in this sort of coming out of the physical isolation? And it was us putting this together. It was literally sparked by that meme that you talked about, which was, I'm not lazy or not getting things done because I lack desire or discipline. I lack community. And I was like, Rhonda, we have to kick off the UnChamber with this conversation, right? So in terms of now, we're coming out of physical distancing, but some people may still feel socially distant. They may still feel socially alone. Do you have like one or two top tips for folks coming out of isolation physically now to kind of level up and shake off the cobwebs a bit of, putting on pants and things like that?
To putting on pants, yes, it's to put on pants for me. Look for the safety in communities, right? And again, I'm going to go back to the UnChamber. I'm going to go back to connecting with people. Right now, we're having opportunities to get out and connect more socially. Start with the places that you're comfortable. Start with the friends and the community that you are comfortable in, and the places that. Can you hear me? Okay. Start with community that you're comfortable with, right? Start in those places, but also allow yourself the grace to do it. I'm in that space right now where literally I intentionally made the decision that, okay, Rhonda, you need to get out. I'm a speaker. I'm a corporate trainer. Most of my people aren't on Facebook, although I have gotten quite a few speaking and training engagements from Facebook. But I know that the place where I really make my money is when I go out and I network and I mingle amongst the people. So I have to be intentional about that. We all have to be intentional about that, but also understand our limits. So maybe I'm going to go to one networking event. Maybe I'm going to be in one group. Maybe I'm going to do what was comfortable for me in that, as I lean into that and putting on pants and trying to look cute again for the people. Because I'm telling you, these elastic pants over this last year has been a beautiful thing. It's been a blessing and a curse.
Well, you and I, when you talked about, who challenges you and you talked about your coaches, that is one thing. I shed 60 pounds on a journey with you, right? With a coach who we shared at the time. And it was a challenge, but it was also a challenge that was made a little bit easier because we were in it together.
Community. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Community.
And so it's so important that you can build relationships without going out and saying, I got to find this person in my business or who I can connect with from a business perspective, and just say, you know what, I'm going to go out and join a runner's club. Yes. I'm going to go out and join somebody to help me shed these 60 pounds. Right. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, we have so much business in common. And so bring your whole self.
Yes.
To all of your experiences. And because Rhonda has taught us how to activate Raz, right? And for those of you who aren't in the UnChamber yet, you can see the full discussion in the UnChamber community, and it'll also be emailed out to our premium members. When Raz is activated, then we can say, oh, I came to run, but damn if he can't help me get sales, right? So let's chat about that.
Yes. Yes. And it's the Raz is really about the clarity, right? You have to be clear on what it is that you want. You have to be clear, you got to be clear on the vision. You have to be clear on what it is that you're looking for so that you can see it. So, I want to talk about this question. How do you build your team?
Yeah.
Well, I think I
was going to say, definitely watch the replay to this, and the replay is available for premium members because Rhonda walked us step by step through how to build this team. So definitely watch the replay to that. But if you want to say a few things on that, but Rhonda took us deep.
I think the main thing, even going back to that, is really building the team. You got to build yourself, right? The personal development. You got to work through your stuff, because you can have the greatest team in the world, but John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. And the law of the lid is basically that if you are a 6 as a leader, your team will never go further than a 5.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that you are really leading yourself, that entrepreneurship will bring some things up out of you. When I tell you I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of degrees and letters behind my name, and I'm pretty introspective, but we got those, and I always talk about those four parts of ourselves. One of those being the blind spot. And if your blind spots, you're getting tripped up in your blind spots and you're not working on that, you're not contributing to that, you will blow it when it comes to building your team, because people aren't going to want to be around you, an undeveloped leader. So make sure you're developing yourself as a leader.
Absolutely. I so appreciate this.
I saw a comment that Carl made that I want to address real quick.
Yeah, that was in the private chat. Hold on. So go over to private chat, and then you can read out the comment that you wanted.
He says, I'm a right brain challenging myself to be a left brain. Okay.
Yeah. So that was when you were talking about who compliments you, right?
So I'm all for stretching, right? We want to stretch out of our comfort zones, but be careful about how far you stretch outside of your strength zone. Because when we stretch too far outside of our strength zone, it diminishes us in the places that we are strong.
That is a word. Say that again. Say that again. Because that's another John Maxwell book. Don't develop your 5s and 6s. Work on your 8s, 9s, and 9s. Right? So say that again.
I didn't read that book, and I don't even remember what I said. But yes,
really you don't remember what you said. Sandy said, "Preach."
You focus on your strengths. Stay in your lane. So a few years ago, I was brought into this. It was at St. Mary's University. They wanted me to speak to these entrepreneurs. They wanted me to speak about time management, time management of all things. I'm like, I am a master procrastinator. And when I tell you, I just finished this between my last client and now, please believe me, master procrastinator. I don't know nothing about no time management, but they gave me a nice little chapter that I could use, and I could have made a PowerPoint basically off that chapter. And I'm speaking to a room full of entrepreneurs, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna keep it funky with y'all. Can I keep it real? My best time management secret is for you: stop doing stuff you ain't good at.
That's
you want to manage your time? You want to manage your time? Focus, stay in your lane, do what you're good at. Stop, listen, it's my greatest asset and we ain't even gonna call it a flaw because it's an asset.
Well, that's not a flaw. And actually, we talked about that. Actually, Rhonda and I talked about that. Sandy, I'm so glad you said that. Procrastinator is actually not a negative term. It's just that we process things differently on a different timeline. Right. Yes. So I was talking specifically, and I'll share this book in the community about a really great 2 books, Gretchen Rubin's The 4 Tendency, and there's another book about procrastination. And the bottom line is that the beauty of procrastination, I think this is in Harvard Business School study as well. The beauty of procrastination is that we take more time and bring in more stimuli and resources versus the person who wrote a paper 2 weeks ago. We now have 2 more weeks, and it might, for people who are like, I need to get things done, they might think that this is an excuse, but it has been proven that part of our process is that we take in additional stimuli, additional information, and that our brain, our subconscious, is actually working in that period where it doesn't seem like we're working. So our brain is constantly building our proposals and working on that brief. Sandy's a lawyer, you know, working on things in a way that our brain is sort of stacking it so that when we sit down to write at the computer, this is not the first time that we're thinking about it and pulling it together. Because for master procrastinators to become master, that means that we tend to be successful with what we submit, right? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. You won't be a master unless you're great at it. And we are great at procrastination, which is a neutral term and not a negative term. And for us, it's a positive term. Yes. So we're going to like nip that in the bud right now. Yes. Hail to procrastinators. I got to talk tomorrow. I'm going to start working on it after tonight.
Listen, that's how we do, right? Ask me what time I started working on this.
Right, exactly. But the beauty is we have a wealth of knowledge by staying in our 8s and 9s and not going to our 4s and 5s. Yeah. Don't ask me to talk to you about how to plant a shrub, right? Because now I have to do research. Now I can't let my subconscious work on it because it doesn't have a well to pull from.
Yes.
But when we are training in our gifts, when we are continuing to hone our and sharpen, right, that which we are expert in already and continue to sort of develop the thoughts and give people enough value to be able to think about things from a different perspective because we've been honing these 8s and 9s.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have time for my 4s and my 3. Forget about it. Let's hire that VA for $5 an hour. Right. Yeah. And this is a true story. That's actually next month's talk is going to be talking about that.
Nice.
So, you know, let's talk about what it really takes to build this team and bring our dreams together and who compliments you. But you have to know what your skill set is, your mindset and your heart set.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, no.
And you know what I know about even as this procrastinator, right? Because I love the reframe. And as a coach, I do a lot of work in helping people to reframe their thoughts because it feels different when you say procrastination, you know, like that's my superpower. Exactly. Like I'm so dope at it that like literally I could have shown up without a PowerPoint. When the PowerPoint was doing something wonky, I was like, if I need to go with it, I don't need it because I've mastered that. I understand my strengths. I understand that. And with me, I know that in my head, I'm going to be working until I have a hard stop.
Right. Exactly.
And the hard stop is typically go time. So yeah, it's the reframe, right? But if you have people in your community, in your group who don't see the positives in that and go, well, you need to get better at time management. Now you're spending time so this is where I want to go back to Carl. You're spending time trying to pump energy into your quote unquote weakness when you are deflating your gifts, deflating your strengths. And let's stay in our 8, 9s, and 10s and give somebody else the 4s.
Right. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So Rhonda, Gipson, Willis, tell folks how they can get in touch with you. I'm going to put that also across the bottom because I know we have bookrhonda.com.
Yes, ma'am. Bookrhonda.com. So if you want me for speaking, for training, for executive coaching, if you want any of that, bookrhonda.com. I'm available. Child, I sound like I'm at Sears or something. But I'm all over the world wide web.
Chanel, Tiffany.
Rhonda Gipson. Oh, I like that. Rhonda Gipson Willis. If you go to, actually, there. Well, no, I won't say that because it was in the group. But RhondaGipsonWillis.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, all of that. Just look my name up. Put a P in it, Gipson. And yeah, that's how you find me.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. I really appreciate you being our inaugural speaker for the UnChamber. I'm going to do a little housekeeping. Rhonda, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was our inaugural virtual meeting of the UnChamber. Tonight, we will be here at 6 p.m. in the space in the UnChamber. You can get full access to Rhonda's talk. If you're a member, a premium member, then you already have that access and you're able to watch it right now. And we'll also be putting that in our library for folks to be able to access as well. Tonight, you get me. I will be talking not about our networking. I am going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. Sharon Washington had this quote a couple of years back where she stated very simply, marketing gets you leads, sales get you paid. Okay. And I think whenever I talk to people, they really want to get their name out there and for people to know them. And the reality is that we are focusing a little bit too much on marketing and not enough on sales. So from that perspective, tonight we are going to go deep. We are going to talk specifically about the difference between marketing and sales, but how to use marketing to generate sales, right? There is a gap that we want to bridge. And we're going to walk through very specific steps here in the space tonight at our UnChamber meeting at 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing you there. It will be recorded for those of you who are not local and able to come in. You will receive that access to that video so that you can get that training as well. If you are not already a member of the UnChamber, I invite you to join us. We will be having these second Wednesday meetings every single month going forward at 1 p.m. Eastern virtually, and then at 6 p.m. Eastern in her power space, which is my co-working space here in Broward County, Florida. And I wanted to say our next month speaker on the virtual side of things is amazing. Her name is Karen Miesis, and she is going to be talking with us specifically about how do you get a VA to do your 3s and your 4s and your 2s and your 1s, right? For $5 an hour, $50 a week, right? How do you take this burden off of your desk that is slowing you down from doing your highest and best use activities that are income generating and are worth the most and that only you can do? And for $50 a week, bring in someone who can help you level up to your next success level and have more time. And I have personally done this and it has made a huge difference on my bottom line. I happily pay that $50 a week because it has freed up and enabled me to really generate some really great content and other ways that I work with my VA. And then in the evening, in the space, we will be bringing in Anthony Jackson. Anthony Jackson is with You Creative, and UHU. And You Creative, and he is local here, and he will be talking about how we as entrepreneurs with amazing vision in our brains can talk to techies. How do we get our websites done without getting taken to the bank? How do we speak the language to ensure that our apps actually reflect what we want them to reflect? How do we talk as non-techies to techies? And I think that's a really important conversation to have, because just the other day, someone was telling me they had spent thousands of dollars on a website and it did not reflect at all what they'd hoped it reflected. But the person who built it said, look, I built what you asked me for. And so that's a really important conversation. So those are our July UnChamber meetings. And in the interim, we'll be sharing really great value. We have a private community that is open to all of our members. And I look forward to connecting with you tonight at 6 p.m. in her power space. And next month, I'll see you virtually if you're not here. All right. And thank you so much for joining us. This was great. Our inaugural. Hey, Shelly. Ah, that's my favorite girl, DJ. I see you. And so thank you all for those of you who joined us watching wherever you watched, and for those of you who came on Yard Stream and introduced your business. So appreciate it. And I will see StreamYard. I'm not even Jamaican, and I'm always thinking Yardman, right? So anyway, I'll see y'all next month. Bye.